finally back. We had a little bit of a break, but the Citizen Effect podcast is back. I'm Keith Whiddon, 100% of Whiddon Criminal Defense, and joined as always by Mr. Devin Todd Jones, one half of Erase My Arrest, and
Eorm Young Law, partner there, half of Erase My Arrest. And this is the Citizen Effect podcast. This is Max Antony.
What's up, guys?
And this is one of the guys that we went to different high schools together. And so, Max, jump into it. Let everyone know where they can find you on social, on the internet, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so fun fact, we didn't go to the same high school, but it's about 7 or 8 miles from each other. And I still see your dad around these parts every once in a while. But no, I'm Max Antony. I'm the MAXOUT lawyer. You can find me on all social media handles at the MAXOUT lawyer, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever, even on Twitter. But yeah, so I'm an injury lawyer, West Central Louisiana. Kind of been in practice in Texas, practiced back in Central Louisiana, and a few years ago opened up my own firm, and now I'm here in West Central Louisiana. And like I said, all I do is injury stuff. So
Max, something that you and I have in common is growing up in a small town, and you decided to go back to that small town. I did not. And you jumped around, hit a few places. You were even working in Dallas for a while. What is it that took you back home?
Well, I'll be straight up. So I went to law school at SMU in Dallas, and I was in your city, Monroe, for undergrad at ULM. But in Dallas, just the work was good, the money was good, a lot of stuff to do. But me and my wife, she's also from this area, as you know, Megan. And we wanted to get back to kind of our roots. When it was time to raise a family, time to come on back. And, we're all a little country boy at heart. So I wouldn't live anywhere else in the world other than Vernon Parish. But there's pros and cons, you know that, man. So like we don't have all the amenities. What we also don't have as it relates to the legal space, is we don't have the population, right? So we're a big rural parish. And so we don't have the type of people, the numbers of people that you have in a small place like Monroe, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, New Orleans. And so that is an additional challenge. But for us, we just kind of, what we've done in my firm is just spread our net, try to help as many people as we can, but then also enjoy living where we want to live, which I can't, where I live, there's not a neighbor within a mile. So it's all good.
Right. So whenever you say spread your net, how far have you reached beyond Leesville and Vernon Parish, Louisiana?
Yeah, so we got 3 offices. Leesville, obviously, is our home base where we started. We do have an office in DeRidder, Louisiana, which is Boulevard Parish. And then we just opened up an office in Natchitoches, Louisiana, which is kind of more toward the center of the state. And we're building out that office as well. And so we're trying to just get bigger to be able to touch more people because for what I do, mainly car wrecks, truck wrecks, and the other types of negligence, the wider your net is, especially in this part of the state of Louisiana, or if you're in any other state that's rural populated, the wider your net goes, the more people that's in your net. There is problems with that, Keith. More offices you have, more overhead, more expense. Mm-hmm. And so you really need to look at, we did a lot of due diligence before we took the investment to open up other offices. And we try to just run a tight ship because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily, your gross income. Obviously, we all want to gross as a law firm as much as we can. It's about what do you net? I mean, is you're profitable? You're running a business. What's your net? Yep. And so Absolutely. You can make all the gross in the world, but what's your financials look like? And we have to take that into account, as well. Yeah.
As one of our coaches used to say, the gross income, that's the ego number.
Yeah.
So, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You can flex that all day, but if you're running 50% advertisement and 45% cost.
It's not worth even though the money's coming in, it's not worth the stress. It's not worth the logistics. It's not worth the time, but that's the only thing we can do because in Vernon Parish, we have about 250 car wrecks with injuries per year. Right. And so you look at that number, then you also look at, all right, what am I spending on marketing? Because as you know, injury work, it ain't cheap to touch people and let them know what you do with billboards, radio, Google, just social, everything. And so what we made the determination is that we don't want to spend and keep spending because in my area, it ain't a faucet. You just can't keep spending and get more cases because there's only so many wrecks per year, And so we're very strategic in that. and I just, this is all I do, injury stuff. I don't do any other type of law. Very blessed to be able to do that in a rural area. Because as you know, most lawyers work in Leesville, they do everything. There's not a lot of people because there's not that many people, not a lot of business. And so people here are general practitioners and they do everything. And so we just made that decision to go all in,
Whenever you decided to go all in on personal injury, did you have a lot of the old guys, all the gray-haired lawyers come to you and be like, well, you need to make sure you're able to do a will and need to make sure you're able to do a divorce? Did you get a lot of that?
Yes, Keith. Not only a lot of it, but like a lot of it. Everybody did. I mean, it's like, because it's just something different. We're an old town here.
Yep.
People's been doing the same thing forever. And I cannot tell you how many people like really came to me and was like, Max, hey, let's talk. I'm concerned about you. You're referring us business. We appreciate it, but you're not doing any divorces, child custody. You're not even doing real estate transactions anymore. And it's like, hey, if times get tough, let us know. I mean, we'll try to send you something. And it's just, I'm like, I do appreciate that. That's just what I tell them. I say, I appreciate it. I really enjoy what I'm doing and helping my clients. I'm just, going to swing for the fences is what I tell them. But it is, people think I'm crazy, and even the limited success that we've had at my firm, I'm still a black sheep. It just is what it is. People don't understand it. There's all kinds of rumors about how our doors are even open.
Right.
What we're actually selling here at Antony Law Group. But no, it has been a struggle. It's something different, and there are some people I have had a lot of people reach out to me but they're just not from here. They're from other areas. A lot of people from Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, even Alexandria, Shreveport, wanting to know, hey, if you ever have some cases that you can't handle for whatever reason, we'd love to be able to help you on that case, especially if it's litigation. And so that has been helpful with those relationships.
And I think that there's just a new way of thinking, and kind of like what you and I talked about before the lights and the cameras came on. There's obviously a clear split between the old school and the new school, where the old school was, little or no advertising. It was, be a general practitioner and do a little bit of everything. And now you do 100% personal injury. I do 100% criminal defense. And even here in Monroe, there were some of the old lawyers that were saying, are you sure you can do just that? Is that going to be just enough for you?
Right.
And I said, I'll figure it out. And I haven't gotten it perfect, but I'm doing better than I expected. I'll say that.
Well, I'll tell you, Keith, every month that we make it, every month that our doors are still open and we're chasing that, it's worth it. Because like I said, I think we're all kind of the same. You, me, and Devin, we got big goals, and, it's building a business in addition to a law firm. And that's what keeps our doors rolling, and that's what's important to us. And I'd rather fail trying, than not try at all. You know what I mean? Because I see what you're doing. I see what all these other people are doing. Not just y'all, but like other lawyers that are here, never advertise. I see what how you operate, what your clients say about you and all this stuff. And I don't want that, man.
Yep.
I want something different. But different is work, right? Different is not just being a lawyer. It's, it's more of the business type aspect to it. And that's what this is hard for other people to understand. Like you said, we ain't got it figured out.
Yeah.
But you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, especially, there's not a lot of advertising, especially where we're from here in Whiddon Parish, western part of the state. I can't in my lifetime remember ever seeing an attorney advertisement in Leesville that was from somebody local, right? You always had the big boys down south and other places throwing up billboards. They're on the radio, they're everywhere. They're on TV.
Yeah, and when you and I were growing up, it was Kirby Kelly, the guy with the hat.
Right,
so,
right.
That's who I always saw. That's who I always saw ads for on Fox.
Yeah.
And so it's them, but they just have a hard time seeing it. But at the end of the day, they don't pay your bills. They can say what they want, And once I left the DA's office to do this full time, which it's almost been a calendar year to tell you the truth, because I did stick my toe in it, where I started advertising. Let's see, probably hardcore January 2022. So it's been a year and a few months. but I left the DA's office, which I was an assistant prosecutor doing criminal prosecution on the other side of what you do. In June, no, let me take that back. May 2022 is when I left the district attorney's office. 100% self-employed. Antony Law Group was born June 1st. So we're coming up on our year anniversary, and we're still pushing. And we're doing a lot better now than when we started, because as well as I do, you're a lot more entrenched up there. You've been established a lot longer than I have, Keith and Devin. But you know how it is that first 6, 9, even up to the year point, dude, it's scary, man.
Yes.
And people don't understand what it takes to do that. It's not like you got money coming in. I mean, automatically, it's not like the government's sending me a district attorney check, or you got a boss that you're getting a W-2 check the second Friday of every month. You're hustling, and it's hard,
I think the biggest hard part is everybody always says stepping out on your own is hard. I worked at district attorney's office for a while. They say, oh, stepping out on your own is hard. That's not the hard part. The hard part's that first good month, and then 3 people come through the door the next month. That's the one that gets you every time.
That's right.
Because you go home after that first good month and you say, man, we're eating good.
Yes.
And you start really looking the books, because you're gonna make everything optimized, and 3 people come in for the new system.
Yes.
And that's the hard, the peaks and the valleys, just riding that.
Yes.
It's rough.
Yeah, and especially with me, man. I had 2 kids. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. She was raising our kiddos, working in the house, taking care of everything, allowing me to work. And when you got responsibilities and you step out and you feel it. One, it's hard, but what I found. So let me step back. So it's scary. I don't know if it's hard. It's scary to people who's always had a security blanket, right?
Yes.
But once you get in it, you're never going to work. You've never worked harder than you do when what you do now. Like I said, when it comes to about the 12th, 14th, 15th day of the month, it's like, I better get some money coming in to cycle for the next month so I can pay my bills, but you'll never work harder for anybody else other than yourself. And you'll learn that it's just not about the practice of the law, but it's the business of the law,
It is.
Yeah. Do you think that's the big difference, is that the old school doesn't see it as a business?
I think that's what it is, because it's frowned upon. One, when talking about advertising, as we were earlier, one, that's the legal profession is so, there's so much history to that it's looked kind of frowned upon as, kind of taboo, like a respectable lawyer would not do that. The work should speak for how good the lawyer is and how much clients that he has. That's just, while that may be true, but if no matter how good you are, if people don't know about you, they're not going to use your services.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that's it. And because there's a difference between the business and just being the practitioner. But I think that's kind of the disconnect. And then also, Keith, I think that it's just the old school mentality of, you have this money, why would I spend it on advertising? And it's a disconnect between, if I spend this money, I'm going to get clients. And that's scary too. In my experience, for the most part, the more money that I've spent on advertising, the more revenue I've generated. And again, I'm a small fish, only been doing it a year, but for people who's been doing it forever, never had to advertise, used to making this much money, why are they going to take some money from their stack to reinvest it in their business? That's the hard part,
Yeah.
I think the old school mentality, I've told people this, is that the brand in the old school mentality is the individual attorney. And I think I know me and Keith, and I've talked with you, and we've all known each other since college, but I think what we see the brand as is the legal product we're producing in our business, which is bigger than us.
Yes.
This is a product that we're creating that will withstand us even when we're gone. It's our generational wealth tool to create this legal product that is MAXOUT Lawyer, is Erase My Arrest, and even EORM Young Law. It's now, a lot of people come in and say, I want to see EORM Young. I say, it's EORM Young Law. It's a corporation. We create a financial product.
Right.
The product's bigger than us. I think that's how I try and sum up the old guard. The old guard is that you go out there and you hire Ted. Ted is the product. My thing was, when I was a prosecutor, I'd look across the thing and I'd say, Ted's 81. I don't want to be in court at 81. How do I not be Ted? Like, no doubt, I love his Mercedes, but I don't want to be Ted.
Yeah, but I don't want to drive to the courthouse 4 days a week.
Ted's still missing his great grandkids recitals.
Yeah, and I think, and I agree with you on that. Obviously, we all three, and maybe in us talking, I don't want it to sound disrespectful. I know that we all, respect the old guys, where they came from, what they've done, how they've advanced the practice of the law. It's just our perception and what we think, our opinions, because of what we see and what we're trying to do and the success we had. So nothing to say bad about them, but, I think Robert Kiyosaki, in his books kind of explains the difference between, do you have a job or you have a business?
Yes.
That's it.
I think and the thing that I think that you're alluding to, Devin, that you said, is that when Ted stops working or gets sick or can't work for a couple months, there's no income, because Ted is the money. When Ted stops working, the employees can't get paid, people lose their jobs, you can't pay your note on your law firm, all this other stuff. But if you set up a business where the business can operate outside of you, that's something that can survive the test of time. And again, like Erase My Arrest, what you are doing, y'all, it's like the most sensational product, because it's not tied to you, Keith or Devin, right? So if y'all were to either, both kick rocks and you go on whatever reason, it's still a valuable asset. But when Ted's firm, for example, the lawyer that, it's him and a secretary, and he got, a Mercedes and whatever, but he has to work to make money. When he's done, the value of his law firm is zero.
Right. Yeah, I always thought that business valuation goes to nothing when that name is gone.
Yep.
And then when you do, and in the legal aspect, as a lawyer, especially in a small town or any town, when you go to retire, it ain't like you got Coca-Cola or Apple. Like, you can't sell Ted's law firm because the value is only on the current caseloads, right? But with Erase My Arrest and what y'all are doing, as y'all continue to grow that, if you want to stay there and continue being successful, y'all do that. If you ever want to have an exit, Erase My Arrest could continue on, and you're out and somebody else is running it, but it doesn't damage the brand, because the brand doesn't need you, right? You created it, but don't need you. And that's wealth. That's something to build, because in the grand scheme, then why are we doing this? Otherwise, it's a freaking job,
Exactly. Yes.
Look, and here's the real truth. Law school doesn't train you how to be a lawyer. So I am thankful for all the TEDs, because I think every one of us learned how to be a lawyer from watching those TEDs.
Hey, that is. And again, they're great. Some of the best litigators in the world, that they're the jam, but it's just, and you see it too often, the stressful nature of our job, the busy schedules, stuff happens, it's tough. And if you go down and you're the only provider for your family, you got a problem,
That's it. Look, I remember being in the DA's office. I did all tax law courses. That's where I was headed. Became assistant district attorney. They said, "Hey, you're going to have an expert up there." I thought, I have no clue what this expert. I'd done appeals. So I went to appeals record, where a lawyer had questioned a similar expert before, and I just took his questions out.
That's it. That's it. They can go in there, do it in their sleep,
Yeah, they do it in their sleep, and it was just beautiful testimony. And somebody said, "Man, that was great what you did." I thought, I'm glad somebody else did this 20 years ago.
Exactly. Just copy and paste.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the benefit. It's still, at the end of the day, we're still lawyers. We still, have ethical obligations, but it doesn't mean to be a great lawyer doesn't mean you can't also have a successful, great business, right? You can still, and that's why y'all are successful. That's why I'm trying to mirror my firm. It's just not that we're efficient, that we have systems, that we have processes, that we have a brand, we have, excellent work product. That's what we do, but none of that matters if your product sucks, right?
Yeah,
that's you got to erase my arrest, and you can't erase your arrest. It ain't worth nothing. Antony Law Group, if you get injured and you get hardly no money, and it's not something that's very successful, they do a good job for you, you don't call them or talk to them. Don't matter how good all your other stuff is, so it takes both. But like you kind of said, Devin, law school, it's really don't teach you how to be a lawyer and don't teach you how to run a business. It's just the barrier of entry, right? And once you get in there, it's up to you to figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah. And in my experience, I've been on both sides. I'm sure y'all have too at some point. But when I came out of law school, I was an associate attorney at some firms, right? I got to work, got on my computer. I didn't have to worry about payroll. I didn't have to worry about nothing. I'm researching the law, drafting motions all day, 8 to whenever. I'm being a lawyer. But when we get on our side of the ball, there's more to it. It's not just sit down and be a lawyer all day. It's like, okay, well, we got payroll, we got employment issues, we got, what do we spend on advertising, how the bill's getting paid, what's our profit to loss. It's all the other stuff. But in my experience, and hopefully I know y'all's, it's worth it, right? You're building something,
100%.
and it's you're building cash flow. You're building revenue, you're building a business. And then once you get that itch, once you get that fire that y'all got, and I think I'm still trying to ignite and get bigger in mine, is like there's nothing in this world better in the legal profession than that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Look, I tell you, the first thing that hit home that it was good was to leave and go on vacation for a week and come back and you still made money.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Even when you're at the DA's office, district attorney's office, you leave and you think, man, these cases are going to go to crap. And they usually do when you're not there. And to be able to come back to your own office that you're doing everything and be like, hey, we may not have made optimal money last week, but we made money last week and I wasn't here.
Yep. Clients got serviced, money got deposited, your bills got paid, and you wasn't there. So that's the goal, and even with the DA's office, for example, I was the same way. Like if I go out in the DA's office, I'm still getting my check. I'm still going to get my state warrant, and I'm going to get my money from the police jury, the DA's office. I'm still going to get paid, whatever. But with that, with being an employee, with being an employee of a law firm or a government entity as a lawyer, you're always going to have that ceiling.
Yep.
Right. Yep. You're always going to have, okay, this is how much you make per year? Well, this, if you ask me how much I make per year, it's like, well, which year, Right. But what I love about our entrepreneurial law firms that we both have is that we got that carrot, right? There's no limit to how much we can make. We don't have a top end. It could be real low if we have a bad year. Yeah. But I always frame it as, hey, that carrot's out there. As long as I have that carrot, I have something I'm striving toward. And I know in my mind that I can produce and provide for my family and my team at an unlimited amounts of level. That's what keeps me going. And so, and again, it's pros and cons. Some people are different depending on your personality, but I used to be like, I need a paycheck. I got to pay my bills. Need a family, I got to take care of my family. But as I was thrown out and forced to sink or swim, and now I'm on the other side and love it like y'all do.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've told the story numerous times this week, particularly about the area of law that I practice. I'm not interested in doing any other area of law. If someone woke me up and said, hey, Keith, you can do any area of law you want other than criminal, I'd try and find something else to do. So, but I enjoy being an entrepreneur and I enjoy being a criminal defense lawyer. So,
I think you got to pick what you're passionate about.
Yes.
Like, for example, like me and you, like if they were like, hey, you can do all this business, you can do this branding, you can set up all this stuff, but it's got to be, some type of contracts law or some other law that you're not interested in, you don't like doing and how it operates.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that's not perfect for you, And I think it's trial and error. And the good thing about being lawyers, we can dabble in different things to see what we like and what we're good at and try to match those up. And that's when the magic happens, when you can get what you love to do in the law, the area of law, and then match it up with, you're building your brand and your ability on the business front.
And so, I mean, and there are numerous reasons that I enjoy criminal law and that it just clicks for me. What is it about personal injury law that just clicks for you? It just makes sense.
Well, and I think what maybe the same thing that does for me, it's also for all the other injury lawyers out there, because the biggest billboard buyer in the world is injury lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
So it's someone's like, why would you go in injury? It's so hard to compete unless you got a bunch of money, because you can't get cases, unless you have a bunch of money. So what is it about it? I would say in general, for myself and other people, for other lawyers that do injury, it is the mechanism of how it operates is more set up like a business, I would say, than most areas of law. Meaning you can acquire clients, do good work, and resolve a case, generate revenue for the firm, but also make sure the client gets paid, all their medical bills get paid without ever having to go to court, without ever having to file a lawsuit. So the pre-litigation side of it just sets itself up to be, a lucrative area that, you could provide revenue without actually doing a lot of like in-court trial work. So it's set up for that. But dude, what I love about it, and it was kind of like that for me when I did title work, when I used to be a real estate lawyer doing closings. Unless something goes south at the end of a case, when you have an injury client and you're handing them, a check to compensate them for what they went through, and the smile they have on their face, and that everything's taken care of, their bills are paid, and they're able to use that money to try to get back on their feet. It really is a special moment. It's tied up with a little bow. The case is over and they get some closure. Dude, I love that,
Yeah.
And that don't happen in every case, right? So some cases it's years of litigation that we do, and that happens. And then it's up to the judge or jury to decide. And sometimes that's out of your hands. But by and large, for the most part, it's the client satisfaction on the back end, and just having some finality for them. That's what I love,
Right. I could say the same about particularly expungements, because expungements have a very similar experience. In criminal law, you don't always have the happiest of ending. Now, there are plenty of times whenever a client is truly relieved that they had a probation sentence, or they are very relieved and grateful that they pled to a misdemeanor instead of a felony or something like that. But the payoff in an expungement is very similar to what you just described in a personal injury case, because whenever we say, hey, we've got great news, we have a signed, sealed, delivered copy of your order of expungement.
Right.
Oh my God, can I come pick it up? Monday, whatever, how soon can I get it? And so is it. And the great news is that there's no, in the case of a divorce or something like that, there's no aggrieved party on the other end either. So
right. That's what's tough on that. So with family law, it's tough because, there's somebody battling the other, it's just tough. Anytime you're dealing with child custody and kids, I personally don't like that. I've handled one divorce child custody case in my entire career, and I said that was the last one, never touched it again.
Yep.
But the other thing, like what you do, like with injury, and I know you do some injury as well, but with also the criminal defense, it's like it's people. You get to know these people, their stories. It's not some corporation. It's not the government. It's not tax. But it's actually a person that had something happen, in their life that's affected them, usually negative, right? Criminal stuff, injury stuff. And you're able to be there for them as kind of a beacon of light, get them through the darkness and get them something to get them back on their feet, hopefully, or get them the best representation as possible. But it's for me, and I know it's for you, it's just the people aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. That's another reason why I do what I do, is because the person that I represent has a heartbeat. They have a family that cares about them. They have, it's that human element. Whereas the state of Louisiana is just some borders. So, and don't get me wrong, I understand that there are plenty of crimes that have victims. I understand that. But it's not the victim versus the defendant. It is the state of Louisiana, which doesn't have a name, a face, a soul, a family, anything like that, that is charging this person. So, and I could start a whole other rant about that.
But I was about to say, dude, we can go hard. We can go hard on that. But I think that is what does it for me. The combination of it can be set up like a business, it can operate and give good client customer service satisfaction as a business without me doing everything along the way. But then also, like I said, the human element is it's like you were saying earlier, it just fits, with what I like to do and, the people that I like to help. So it's just a good synergy.
What has been the best way that you've been able to acquire clients? Because like you said, it's not exactly like a faucet. You're having to expand your net. Is there advertising that has worked better in DeRidder versus Leesville, or what? Yeah, tell us how you're.
So I did a. It's funny. I'm gonna tell you, there's kind of two parts to it, Keith. So you got the nuts and bolts. What do you need to do? Like, what does it take? How do you advertise? What would I suggest to do to try to acquire more clients in your location? But then the second part is it's actually doing those, taking the time, doing the ad copy, doing the videos, doing all this actually doing this stuff. So it's like theory and then it's practice. So I did a podcast late last year with Monroe with Law Rank, right? I kind of said, hey, this is what I do. So if you're interested in like really the nuts and bolts, go check that podcast out. I think it's episode 10 on Tip the Scales podcast. But so once I did that, right, everybody in my local area, that's kind of, I would say my competitors were all friends, but everybody started picking up and doing everything that I started doing that podcast. I started seeing it, I saw it on Google. I would see it on Facebook. I would, all this, I would see some stuff on YouTube, and my competitors in all three parishes were kind of doing that. And I was like, well, good, let's go, know? And so 3 months go by, they don't do it no more. Right.
Right.
And so, and like in any business, like I can tell you what to do, but you got to freaking get out there and do it. And in my opinion, I am an abundance mentality. I'll tell you, I tell the closest people in the next parish, that's my direct competitor, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's an abundance. There's plenty of people out there. As long as you're providing good service, I'm good with you getting the cases. Somebody's got to get them. I'd rather them go to you, you know. But to get those cases now, I'm in the trenches, man. Like, I don't do anything else. This is all I do. I wake up doing personal injury. I go to bed. That's all I think about all day, every day. So, you know, let's go. But so that's the two big distinctions. Those people aren't doing it no more. They've already stopped. And I'm going to keep trucking because it's what we do. But to answer your first question, you know, so there's the big one's Google, social, Google social, and that's kind of the two big fish. Because Google, obviously, on Google, you want to get on the local 3-pack.
Yep, so the map pack.
On it, if you can get on those 3, which are not paid, they're organic.
Yep.
If you're going to get on the first page of Google for free in your location. It's huge. The second one's social. Obviously, that's what I do a lot of. I try to anyway. I do a lot of organic stuff, getting more into the paid stuff. And so really that's with social media ads. That's with producing content. I do a lot of short form videos. You know, I stay active on it, because what I found on social, Keith, and you might tell me I'm wrong, but dude, if you're just posting something, you're giving value, you're staying active, and you just don't post like once a month. And when you do post, it's like a static image of some boring lawyer thing. You know, you're gonna get awareness. And so in my opinion, social is so good for any law firm. It don't matter if you're defense, injury, family law, you know, patents and IP, whatever. Just having social, let them know what you do. But that's really good for brand awareness. So, for example, literally 75% of my cases come from Facebook. You know, in our docket, I just looked on our docket. I think we have 185 open injury cases that are not in litigation. Those are just pre-suit. We got a bunch more in litigation, but about 75% of those, as I looked at where they came from, was Facebook. But I don't get a lot of, hey, I was in or they see my ad that I'm running on Facebook and they say, oh, I got in an accident today or yesterday. There's an injury lawyer. Let me call him. The people that I get, it's not direct response. It's they already know they're going to hire me if they ever get in a wreck. Because
it's brand awareness.
Yeah, that's what and again, maybe it's small market stuff, and I'm the only one that they're seeing. Maybe it would be tougher in a bigger location like y'all are at. I don't know, but here, you know, it's just been kind of gold. So brand awareness. If you can do direct action stuff, you know, I have billboards. I think we have like 17 billboards now. I'm on the radio. Anything that you can do, I do. But really, it's just how much do you want to spend? How much do you want to turn the dial to do more? You know?
Yep.
Because, for example, if I had like 40 billboards, you know, here, that would not be a wise use of money, because you're spending all this money, but there's only 250 wrecks in Vernon Parish and Leesville, you know? So why spend that extra money? Because like we talked about earlier, it's not about, it's not always just the faucet. It's about what's your profit and loss, right? And so it's always you always have to check that and compare it to previous times, just to kind of see where the best spot is. You know, how do you get the dials to where you're getting a lot of cases, but you're spending the least possible, you know? So anyway, that's what I was saying.
I think one of the biggest markers for success when I created Erase My Arrest, and the first incarnation of it was Keith was helping me on the back end. We were kind of talking, but I created it in a hospital room one night when my ex-wife was having our third child. And I just said, I'm going to create this. I'm going to use this website. I'm just going to do it up. I did it. And quickly it launched. And everybody's like, oh man, that's crazy. You know, it's never going to work. I knew it was going to work when one of these yada and yada firms created Clean My Arrest and actually took the content from my website and put it on theirs, created a separate create a separate corporation to hide their names.
Oh my gosh.
It had clean my record on there. And it had, the fun part was in the middle of the night in the hospital room on one of those sofas, you make a few typos, and their website had the typos in it.
Oh, no way, dude. That's crazy.
It's the best thing ever. I actually swore up and down that I was going to get that named partner's face made on urinal cakes and stuck all over town and put in the toilets.
There you go. Yeah, find their home base and go do it.
But then, I thought about it and I said, you can say what you want, but if you people think that I'm so far out of line, why did y'all create a dummy corporation to hide that one of the most premier firms was going to mirror my website? Mm-hmm. And I thought, I don't know what I've hit, because nobody at that time knew that the bills exceeded the operating, but it must have looked so damn good that somebody decided to in a partner meeting to bring it up and dump some cash into it.
Dude, well, and that's a similar story. Obviously, that one's pretty intense, especially in a hospital bed and you have the big people doing it. But dude, I'll be honest. I mean, I've had the same experience, maybe not to that level, but all the other big players kind of do. When they see what I do, they follow all the stuff that I do. They do similar things. And even almost is using the same copyright on static ads, on different ads, different phrases. And the reason why you're still rolling, and the reason why, hopefully we continue in the future, those people are watching, right? They can copy all they want. All these other lawyers, law firms, business, you copy all you want, because if you're copying them, we're always going to be ahead of you, right?
Yes.
That's what with the idea that sparks and the work ethic, because that's why I don't bother me. I'm actually flattered now. I used to literally a phrase that I use on all my billboards. I use it everywhere. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's everywhere. That phrase started popping up all around the state. And then it started popping up in their social, so that's when I knew that I was onto something, right? I'm, kind of like you with Erase My Arrest, you're ruffling some feathers. I was like, hey, but that's what I always remember. I'm just, hey, I'm even happy that someone's even looking at or paying attention to what we're doing, but you're never going to catch me. You're always going to be a step behind. And that's why it's important to always, like y'all have done with Erase My Arrest, you're always making it better. You're always reinvesting in it. That's your baby. And that ain't somebody else's baby. That's an idea, like you said, that came up in a partner room. That you literally birthed that when your wife was, or ex-wife, your child. So you're going to care more for that child than them.
Look, I tell people all the time. This is from the prosecution days, man. Everybody wants to be a gangster till it's time to do gangster shit.
Yes.
You're right, man. You're right.
That's right. Look, everybody wants to steal your idea, but nobody wants to carry it out.
Right.
They don't understand that idea, as simplistic as it is, MAXOUT, Erase My Arrest, that idea has a litany of just business planning behind it, a marketing campaign, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears putting into it. That is just the frontward facing face of a much larger business organization. And it's not simply just a call out. That's not only a brand, that's a product.
And I would, to play on that, I would dare say that the lawyers that know, like really know, they don't want to do expungements, because what we have found out is that not only is there all these things that Devin just said about back end work that goes in to make a front facing product, there's also the practicing law aspect. And because of expungements are so, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess underutilized, maybe. Maybe it's that the citizens of Louisiana just don't understand what an expungement is or how to get one. That also means that clerks don't know what it means to get an expungement. DAs don't know what it means to get an expungement. Sometimes judges don't know what it means to get an expungement. And so there's an education component to that.
Well, it's similar to, like you said, Max. We don't live in a smaller Vernon Parish community. I only know about Vernon Parish from what Keith tells me. and I had a dear friend I worked in the DA's office with who is now in Vernon Parish. But that said, I don't know anything about it. But I can tell you this much. When I looked at a product, I went to marketing classes with the law firms for probably 2-3 years before I created it. And I said, what is a product that has an abundancy, but nobody knows about it? For the most part, when you're at the DA's office, what you get, we got maybe 10 a year. Maybe, and I thought, nobody knows they can do this. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like you going out to Vernon Parish. It's a similar mentality. I went to a place where there there was just open blue oceans. People did them incidentally. If pushed, they would do them. And it was kind of the hope and prayer method. They filed something and just hoped that nobody said anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, what's something I can create that if I'm sitting on a beach in Costa Rica, I can still do it? It was expungements. Fill the form out. You either qualify or you don't. If you qualify, the law grants it to you. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like going out to Vernon Parish and doing car wrecks. There are 250 car wrecks. Plenty to feed you and feed others. But more than likely, most just don't know that they can file it to get reimbursed for stuff. Most get on the phone and say, "Oh, the insurance people said that they'll give me this."
Oh yeah, I'll get $2,000.
They're looking out for me. They said if I don't go to the doctor, that they'll pay me $1,500.
I get those calls every day.
Yeah,
right.
So
that is the big thing, especially with expunges. When I was a prosecutor, man, and I know they have 893, some 894, different kind of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was there a little over 4.5 years, I maybe saw 10 the whole time I was there.
And every attorney begged for it. And they all begged for an 894. And you're like,
I never do it. Yeah.
It just sat there.
Right.
That's why, as a prosecutor, I always agreed to it.
I didn't care.
It's like, you ain't going to do it anyway because you don't even know how to do it.
Yeah. One time I had a judge tell me, he said, you can only get, at that time, you could only get one 894 every 5 years. He said, you can only get one 894 every 5 years. I said, in 5 years, I've never seen anybody come back and ask to invoke the 894. You just said if he's eligible. I said, great. I don't care.
And that's a key to, and I think that's a good point to y'all's success and to other either law firms or business owners or whatever, is that you saw the ocean, you put stuff into place to take advantage of it. And I say take advantage. Yeah, you're making money. Yeah, you're doing that, but you're also helping people that don't know they can be helped.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And what y'all are doing, what I try to do with injury stuff is educate, let them know what's available to them under the law. This ain't some illegal something and that's with car wrecks you get, I'm not a person to sue. I don't want to make a claim, but the law allows it, and so y'all just simply took what the law is, educate people.
Yes.
Refine the process that it can be done numerous times over, always correctly, because like kind of the car wrecks, with expungements, A, B, C, D, T, all those or A, B, C, D, E, all those check out. Let's get you an expungement. But y'all perfected not only, what do you got to do it, how y'all operate it and turn it into a business. And in reality, by y'all could do tens of thousands of them. You're going to do it better than the lawyer that has one, because you know everything about it. You know the systems that are in place to do it. And that is your jam. That's what you do. And so you're going to know, you're going to do better, if that makes sense. And so that's what I think. Yeah, go ahead.
I remember the first client who came in when I started. They came in the office that I wanted to expunge, but they had all the forms printed out. The clerks love to give them the forms. And I said, oh, okay, yeah. And they said, well, I just need you to help me fill out these forms. I said, no, it's fine. You can do it yourself. It is. It's just a form. I'm going to use that one right there. She said, oh, okay. And I said, just go fill it out and go turn it in. About 2 days later, she came back and she said, how much does it cost for you to fill it out? I said, well, that's what I was trying to sell you.
Yeah, exactly. How to do it. Right.
I said, look, it's like lottery tickets. It's just 6 numbers. You just need to pick the right 6 ones.
Right.
But I'd probably go with the guys who have won the lottery a few times than the guys who haven't.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And again, it ain't nothing what we do for the most part. It ain't rocket science. It's really don't take that long to figure out how it works. You really got to focus in on it. And provide a good product to the client like y'all do. And, and now you're helping more people because there's a law there that nobody takes advantage of or doesn't know that they're eligible to be taken advantage of. And so y'all generate revenue, letting them know what's going on. It helps the community, it helps the people that what that law is intended for, to get an expungement, to help those people, so it's a win-win. And, if you came up with the idea, you put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and, you should capitalize on it.
Going back to what you talked about, how there are so many people that whether they copied your method or they copied your copy, going back to this, it gets back to, this is your jam. Personal injury is your jam. Expungements, criminal defense, that's my jam. That's Devin's jam. And it's, you said about how there are these people that are doing this, but they're never going to, I'm always going to be one step ahead. Here's the other part. Is that whenever you put out copy or I put out copy or Erase My Arrest puts out copy, whether it be a video, whether it be a blog, whatever it is, that's me, that's you. And so if someone is just, if the yada 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 firm is just copying, pasting content, then that's not them. That's not authentic.
Right.
So
it's not going to resonate because people are smart, even on social,
Mm-hmm.
despite, what you see on social, people know, because you see all the time, these businesses will hire. That's why I tell people starting out like me in the law space or any space, man, do it yourself until you can find somebody that can maybe do it to where it is actually you through them, because people can see right through it. All these businesses that have these Getty images, stock images with little saying, it's boring. It's social media. And social media, you got to entertain first, educate, and then they'll eventually trust you, or however that saying goes. But you can't be, you can't be boring. And it has to be you, because starting out, and maybe I'll correct me if I'm wrong, starting out, I think that business, it has to be connected to a person, at least to start. If you're having a personal brand versus like a company brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I've tried to do a personal brand, but I've also linked it to my law firm, and almost were interchangeable at some point. But it has to be you, Keith and Devin. It has to be, tied, because it's authenticity, and people see right through that, because you can go to these people's Facebook business page, they got no likes, no views, no nothing. They're just putting content that nobody's seeing, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But if you're engaging with the local community. People see your face, they see you talking. That builds trust, and it's not some type of undue. Not that they shouldn't trust you. It's just you need to take advantage of what's available to let people to know you better. Because. Isn't this right? Like, it's easier not to do any of this. It's easier not to do a podcast. It's easier not to do these videos. It's easy not to post on social media, but people come up to me that I don't even know, and they know everything about me, and they're like, we're best friends, and I get to know them real quick. We got a great relationship because we're limited time, right? And I think social media is a way to reach more people faster. And it's just so important. Otherwise, you're just going to fall, in the whole stack of all the other boring people,
I always get shocked. I see you wear the T-shirt. I often wear an Erase My Arrest T-shirt. I always get shocked at the people who will find you in a grocery store that you never thought, and they'll say, "Hey, how does that really work?"
Yes.
And you're like, "Hey, it works like this." But I also found with the T-shirt and like the MAXOUT and the Erase My Arrest, they're more comfortable to speak with you because they know that it's a product and not a person. Right. And they know that you have something that could benefit them. They just want to know how it could benefit them, and does it really work?
Right. And you provide that social proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really helps out. I think it does. I saw MAXOUT Lawyer. I thought that's perfect.
Yeah.
I saw your name first in one of those yada 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 firms, and I told my law partner when I saw it. I said, yeah. I said, I don't know if that's the perfect fit. I said, I can see that guy going out once he gets it underneath his feet.
Well, dude, the problem is like, man, and now I try to get more comfortable in front of a camera, but that's the hard part because nobody likes to do this, right? No. It's kind of, especially, in a rural part where we're from, we're very conservative area here. And to see somebody, on the internet, on social media, saying all this stuff, it's hard to do. You don't know how people are going to react. At first people kind of made fun of it, but I never quit. I just kept doing it till everybody got comfortable with it. And now it's just a way of life for people that subscribe to my pages or, see my ads. It becomes comfortable, but it's hard at first,
Look,
Go ahead.
No, you
go ahead, Andy.
I'll tell you a fun story. And Keith may not like this story, but when Keith first started, he was doing DWIs. We had a lot of talks, me and Keith did. I was going to Arizona. I was doing marketing. So I said, man, I'm talking to these lawyers in Texas who just do DWI. I said, I think it's a smart move. There's a lot of people who are associated with DWIs, but nobody specifically advertised they just do DWI. So we had a lot of talks. He said, well, he's really on the ground floor of his firm. He said, maybe this is where I need to go. And I said, man, there's this guy over in Tyler. I think he's getting $8,000 of DWI. Really talked to an older guy who's really smart, incredible man. I wish I could remember his name. He's probably in his 60s or 70s. And he talked to me. I said, yeah. So I explained it to Keith. Keith started harping. I'm the DWI attorney. We were at a social function, and an individual who's a very good friend of mine commented something about DWIs, and you know how they always make the snarky remark. Well, I mean, I guess you go over there and get Keith too. He does them too. And I commented something. I said, how much did you do in DWIs last year? And this individual said, I did about 200 of them, $1,200 a pop. And I said, oh, really? I said, that's cool. I said, yeah. I said, man, maybe Keith ought to talk to you. I said, because I think you only did 40 or 50 of them, but I mean, they were $4,500 a pop. He said, $4,500? And I said, yeah. I said, I mean, but he specializes in that. And at that point, that's whenever you could tell that the information got disseminated is that if you want to sail to the blue ocean here, become the expert at it.
Yeah.
How much hard work had he put in to be the expert? At that point, what was comical to people who had never seen it before was real to people who needed it.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people. What this law field is about is yes, I encourage all of our peers to work together. I'm an abundance theory guy. I think there's enough for everybody. I'll help anybody. I don't care. But also understand that just because you don't see it that way doesn't mean that the public doesn't see it as a realistic result. People who were watching that saw that's the caliber of product I want rather than a general product. The people inside the world living in the matrix thought, oh, that's crazy. That's outside. You're never going to get anywhere. And it was kind of this dynamic, and it's fun to watch that.
Yeah. And what's so cool about it, though, is to be the expert. I say expert. I know we got to be careful with that term, but to know your field so well that you can do it without thinking, you know what they are. I mean, we always need refreshers. But it actually makes your life easier because you don't have to know everything about all these different areas of laws. You focus on this one thing. You can just talk about it because you know so much about it. Right. The other thing, you don't have to tell, like on social media or all this other stuff, like you don't have to tell people that you know everything or that this is all you do. They infer that when they watch your content and you're teaching them, because what is it? Teachers usually know what they're talking about, right? And so they can infer, given that free information that you give them, that, yeah, this dude knows everything.
Well, and even back in 2017, 18, I wrote a book, authority. The root word is author. So, I mean, author, authority, those two things go together. And even now taking the book, and if I'm doing a 15-minute video about the horizontal gaze nystagmus test and the correct positioning of the stimulus at the time the officer begins the test and what the conditions should be like and the specific instructions that must be stated. And we get this from the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration's SFST book, which an officer has to pass a 20-hour course and make at least an 80% test on it. Again, that's one of those things where who else has that?
Well, so, Keith, let me be 1,000% honest with you. I have to be honest with you. Yes. I remember watching your content when I was a misdemeanor prosecutor. I did felonies, but I also did a lot of DWIs. And I'm watching your stuff on social and all your videos and all this stuff. And I'm like, thank God Keith Whiddon is not a defense lawyer in Vernon Parish. He would mop me. I don't say that about a lot of people because I was in it, but I was like, dude, this dude would just mop me. I'm so glad he's up there in Ouachita Parish.
Yeah. It's something to know it all, to be an expert in your field. And I think that we're all in a generation that's just a little different.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this is one point I would bring up that's relevant to that. The common thing for lawyers is for general practitioners, they're like, well, hey, I do these divorces. I do these family law stuff. I do this succession criminal defense, because you never know if one of those clients get hit by an 18-wheeler, they're going to want an injury lawyer, and I've already done stuff for them. They're going to come back to me. I will tell you, those days are over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those days are over. I get so many injury files from people who even have current law matters going on with other lawyers that still come to me because they perceive me as, hey, this is all Max does. He must be pretty good at it, which I believe is true. But they don't go to the lawyers anymore. Used to, I think, before the advent of the current climate with social and all this stuff, that was true. You go to one lawyer, he handles your divorce, he handles your succession when your parents die, and he handles your house when you buy it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if I get hit by an 18-wheeler and I got a 7-8 figure case, I'm going to go to him. That is old school. That don't work no more, right? You got to be perceived as the authority. And again, I say perceived. I believe that I'm very good at my craft. I know y'all are world-class at your craft. And then the second thing I would say on that, Keith, is when you do your stuff, you do your content, Devin, you do yours, when I do mine, and you have that content will always be there. You do it one time, you get that product, you throw it on YouTube, it will always, unless something, comes after YouTube, it will always be out there. You'll always have it in your depository. Mm-hmm. So really, people are like, I don't have the time to shoot all these videos. I don't have the time to help, try to give some advice or help people. Man, it takes one time and it'll last forever, right? You might have to redo it if we're eventually going to age. You can see this beard, but that's what's so special about it. And it's just always going to be there. You can always multi-purpose use it. But yeah, anyway, I just want to tell you that story, man. I was like, dude.
Well, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
I mean, ask Devin. I was a prosecutor, and I didn't even know the stuff you were talking about. Right? I've handled thousands of DWIs. I was like, what is he even talking about?
Hey, look, I thought about it. I said, yep, that's what we call reckless operation plea.
You need a deal. Yeah, you PTI? Yeah.
I'm gonna help you out this one time.
Hey, anybody else that's listening that may in the future ever need a criminal defense lawyer, it matters who your defense lawyer is. As a prosecutor, I'm gonna tell you right now, it matters. You can't get the same. And again, even people on the public defender's office, they do a fantastic job. They'll do you a good job. But if you have a retained lawyer that they are doing everything that it takes for your case, I know as a prosecutor, when I saw different names, and even if it is on the PDO, if I saw a particular lawyer that's on the PDO and they had your file, it matters. Yeah. So anybody that's listening, I just really want to make that point.
I always try to tell them, and I don't know how it worked where you were, but Monday was misdemeanor day. So you know what Friday was? Charge the file day. You had all those files in your desk to go through.
Yeah.
You had that certain set of lawyers. You're like, yeah, that's a crime.
Yeah. It does matter.
Yeah, it read the report and you said, that's a plea. That's a plea. But it's people don't understand that it matters whose name signed on there. I used to tell people whenever I did limited criminal defense stuff that I always try and get my motion to enroll before they would ever sign the bill and look at the file and read it, because they would look on the other side and they see who it was and they say, oh, okay, he's going to file a bunch of motions. The question starts becoming, if it's hairline facts, do I want to go through the pain to figure out if I'm right or wrong?
Right. Very true. And I think that parlays to injury law as well, or anything.
Oh yeah.
For example, injury law. This is people, the common people don't know this, but insurance companies, don't matter if it's Allstate, Geico, all Travelers, Commercial, everybody. There's this massive database that every lawyer has a profile, right? And so if your lawyer that you hire to represent you in your car wreck, truck wreck, whatever, they got a profile, and if they don't handle all the other cases the way that it should be handled, maximize settlements, maximize verdicts, and because each one with your profile, they'll know, okay, this lawyer settles cheap. We're going to start off with a super cheap offer. We know that this lawyer, if we give him a lowball offer, he's going to file suit and litigate it. We're going to pay more down the road, and plus have to pay an attorney. So I would say in the injury world, it does matter. I would say in the criminal defense world, it matters. Expungement, especially with that, it matters. So, and I do put out some content. I'll tell everybody, look, see what they do, see what their practice areas are, check their reviews, talk to other people, look at their social, because you can gain a lot of information by just doing a little due diligence. Because we're all, even though I believe that all other lawyers hopefully do a great job for their clients as we do for ours, there is a difference.
Yeah, there is.
So what would you, is there because I can remember one of the piece of advice that stuck with me. What is one piece of advice or one thing that you would tell the young entrepreneurial minded lawyer today that's listening to this podcast?
What I would say is you don't have to spend money to try to get clients, right? When you're new, it's tough. You just can't throw out a shingle and all these clients flock to you. And maybe sometimes us lawyers who are more out in the open on social and stuff, maybe we don't do a good job of explaining how hard it is to get clients, depending on what you are, a car wreck client, or if you get, criminal defense clients that, obviously have to retain your services with money, depending on the type of law, but they just don't flock to you. So it's hard, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to get those clients. You have to use a lot of energy. You have to do a good work. And you have to kind of fulfill, your obligations that you said when you took the bar for your clients. But practically speaking, so that's general. Practically, you need to go on social, every platform, at least reserve your name. You need to post content. This is like what we're doing here. You know, we can use this for different things and repurpose it. Find you somebody that maybe can edit some of your videos. You don't need an editor. You take an iPhone, turn it around and say, hey, I'm attorney, blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. And here's a little pro tip on a certain piece of law. You know, just get it out there. You need to set up a Google My Business page. And a lot of lawyers, I mean, lawyers that's been practicing 5 years, 10 years, even 30, 40 years, they don't even have a Google page. Like people can't even Google you. And when they Google you, all your other backlinks show up, but you don't have a Google page, you know, so at least set up one of those, figure that out. You know, start getting some reviews from your clients that you do have or have done in the past, because that helps your rankings on the local pack we talked about earlier. And people read those reviews. Everybody says it's BS. I had 2 people call today from our Natchitoches location reading the reviews that we had just, we had just opened. We already had some great reviews from clients up there, and they retained our firm based on those reviews.
Google reviews are the new referral.
Dude, they're huge. And there's a difference I've learned from BS. You can't pay for reviews because they're not even going to show up. Google does a very good job now of filtering out crap reviews, right? So they all can't be from the same computer. You can't have the same people always. You can only do one Google review on a page. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes to it, because I think Google realizes that's, some authentic review site or reviews that are being made, but they want to keep out the junk because it means so much. And that's how they factor in their algorithm. So social, get on Google. And then also, your friends and family. Like if you're a brand new lawyer, and no matter what town you're in, you're going to have a network. People you go to church with, people that your kids play sports together. People need to know what you do. Maybe you don't have to make up a name for yourself and start, giving everybody t-shirts and wearing your own stuff. But at least let them know, like, hey, look, this is what I do. This is all I handle. You don't have to be overbearing, just slide it in conversations. But it's important because starting out, majority of your cases are going to come from word of mouth, So you do all that. You work hard, do good work. You're even going to get referrals starting out from other lawyers that don't even want to handle some of this, because they get so much stuff. Like me, I refer out, I don't know, at least 5 to 10 cases a day, car wrecks, etc., whatever, just to other lawyers, because that's not something I handle, or it's not a case that fits my criteria for an injury case that I would take. So always be respectful to other people in your community, even if they talk down to you a little bit and think you're crazy for what you're doing. Be good and do good work. When people do send you referrals, here's a pro tip: just don't blow those people off. Like if somebody, if for example, if other lawyer says, "Hey Max, I referred this person to you for a succession," that person calls for the succession. It is so screwed up you can't even do a succession. You don't need to have your secretary or whoever, or or even if you talk to them, don't be rude to those referrals. You need to be like, hey, look, ma'am, I understand the succession you're going on. We talked about the facts. It's not something I can handle for whatever reason. Or, hey, you're not even an heir, so we can't have a succession probate. But really take the time when you get referrals to treat those referrals with respect and actually talk to them, because those people are going to touch people.
Yes.
As you're starting your firm, every person you come in contact, you need to be nice to and provide a good service. And it's not just for business. I mean, just in general, you need to be freaking nice to people, because if you're yelling at your kid's game and fighting over a little league, and somebody sees that, if they get hit by an 18-wheeler, they ain't going to call me or anybody, that person who's yelling. So you carry yourself with respect, have character, and just, do good work and be good.
Okay. All
right.
Well,
sweet.
There is one question that we haven't asked, and it's the only canned question, or the only question that we know we're going to ask in every single podcast. The citizen effect, and this is actually another one of Devin's babies. The citizen effect means leaving something better than how you found it. And so, Max, it may be in the personal injury space. It may be in your space as a family member, or it may be in something that we haven't even talked about yet. What do you want to leave better than you found it, and how are you going to do it?
Okay, so 2 things before that. I forgot we're even on a podcast. I feel like we were just 3 dudes talking. So it's okay if we have a canned question, for one. The second thing is Devin obviously has a lot of good babies. Kids that he has, Race My Rest, and this podcast idea. So
Some of them I pay child support for too. So.
Well, everything.
No, that's a funny joke. But me and my ex-wife and her new husband were all good.
No,
in fact, we coach baseball together. It's the greatest thing ever. Yeah, no, great.
Co-parenting, but what we all do, for me, there's a lot of things. It's community related. I do try to give back. I try to make lawyers. And actually, I try to make myself, but I try to, in our local area, give lawyers an approachable persona and name, because for so long, the common folk where I'm from, and we're all common people here. We wasn't born to nothing special. We're not high end. We're not better than nobody. But sometimes lawyers have that perception, and especially in a rural area, lawyers don't always have the best connotation and always sometimes seen as unapproachable, right? And I try to, not only with my social media stuff and the advertising I put out, but I just try to let people know, hey, we're just people too. We're just like a doctor. We got a job to do, and we're no better than you. We just did some schooling, and this is what we do for work. So I really tried to push that in our area. It's okay to go talk to a lawyer when you need some help, car wreck, expungement, whatever. But then also the thing that I want to leave behind, I want to give the people in my community that traditionally didn't know what their rights were underneath the law as it relates to a car or truck wreck, about what they're entitled to, and that the insurance companies have done a great job of making you feel bad for asserting your rights under the law. And my goal, whenever I'm dead and gone, is and while I'm alive to be able to educate those people and change the connotation that, just because you get in a wreck and you're trying to get some compensation, that'll make you a bad person. Conservative areas rule, that's hard to overcome. Most of when I talk to my clients, I'm having to convince them that it's okay to do this. Mm-hmm. It's provided by law. And so that's a big thing that's a big thing as it relates to my injury firm and what I do for work. I'm very involved in sports around here for the high schools, and actually all sports, from little league to little dribblers all the way up to high school. And I even do some NIL sponsorships with college athletes that come from this area. That's just like I hope that they can get some help, because I know it's tough as athletes go through. I know it's tough for parents to fund all this stuff, and so whenever I can, I do try to make some generous donations to help with that, because sports has done so much for my life. I know Keith, I know Devin, they are sports guys too, and so I try to give back.
Not nearly as successful as you were. So
well, so I'm 5'8", 220. I wasn't the best athlete, but my people from this area, and I've had some older sisters who are very Ashley and Katie, that played LSU and Louisiana Tech when they were in the Final Fours, but not me. But Keith, I'll tell you, the last thing is, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs can probably maybe relate to this. Maybe they have similar thinking. I don't know about y'all too, but it's a little bit different for me, because I came from my family always did very, we were always middle class. We were always, we wasn't poor. We always had food and all that. But I came from, parents who had jobs that worked for other people. And a lot of entrepreneurs, I know it's a different road, but I'm really changing when I'm dead and gone. I just want to be able to show my 3 kids that, there is other opportunities. You don't always have to follow the traditional path, work for somebody else, or you don't always have to, you don't even have to go to college necessarily. It's just, I want to leave my kiddos in a better position than I started, even though my parents are great and I've made a long way to where I'm at. It's just different opportunities, for them. And also just not my kids, but other kids to know that you can do what you want to do and start from nothing. You don't have to be born with a silver spoon, given everything in the world. You can still, if you work hard and really believe in something and be passionate about something, really work hard, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And I think that idea in kids' heads sometimes gets suppressed for a lot of different reasons. They see people on social media and they're like, oh, and these people are so famous, they're so young, I'm not, I suck. That's not how it works. That's all a facade, but if you see, you talk to these people in confidence, they do see you on social, but you're actually telling them, hey, this is what it takes, man. It ain't just like, I'm gonna get a Lambo and it's all good. It takes freaking, what it takes. And on that, I know there's a long answer to your question. I would like to leave y'all with 2 book recommendations for the listeners. That fortifies this freaking mindset that we got to have, because to be entrepreneurs, to run your law firm, even to run like a car wash business or run any business. Like the mentality is the same. It's by Tim Grover. It's I think it's Winning and Relentless. I get them kind of mixed up
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but it's kind of Tim Grover with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. Their private coach, and it really does a good job of explaining the freaking mentality you got to have to be successful, right? Because we ain't doing all this. We're not built. When you have your own business like y'all do and like I do, you ain't just trying to do this, right? I mean, we want the best.
Yes.
But I never had nobody tell me what it freaking takes to do that. And reading those books about, what does winning mean and what does it take to be a professional at what you do, that kind of put into words something I needed to hear to really understand what it takes, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because it's not pretty, and there's nothing glamorous. You're lonely a lot of the times. You just really got to grit and work. And that just really helped me. That keeps my mind where it needs to be. And you got to remember, if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you're a lawyer, a doctor, whatever, just like athletes on TV are professional athletes, you need to be professional athlete at what you do. So if you're a freaking lawyer, just like these people spend all the time in the gym, they take care of their bodies, they practice, you need to be doing that as a lawyer. You need to refine your craft because you're professional at what you do. Like I said, if you work at McDonald's, you need to be the best damn freaking hamburger flipper you can because that's your job. So anyway, I get all excited about that, but those books have helped me. So I would tell your listeners, check those books out. Check those out if you haven't. They're on Audible and they've really helped me. So
yes. I'm listening to Relentless right now, so I will.
Oh, really?
Endorse that. Yes, really.
Oh, nice.
There's a billionaire who started Kinko's, and the guy asked him. It was on a little short video the other day. He asked him. He said, "What about success?" And the guy, and it put what you said in perspective about. You see all the new wealth. You see the Jake Pauls, Logan Pauls, these YouTube people.
Yeah, Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
And he said, when you're in your 20s, you learn. When you're in your 30s, you figure out what you're good at. When you're in your 40s, you make money at what you're good at. When you're in your 50s, you relax. And he said, how do you measure success? He said, I measure success by when my kids are adults, do they want to hang out with me?
Oh, gosh, so true, dude.
And I thought, that really hits home because I'm 39. And you start thinking about it, you look at all these people. I have a 16-year-old. He watches all these people on YouTube. I know, right?
Right.
And I'm old. And so I started looking at it, and you see these people with all this success. You realize I'm just at the end of my 30s. I'm on track to figure out what I'm good at. And I feel like that's really the spot I've gotten to. At 39, I figured out what I'm good at. And it's great to understand from a guy who's made billions of dollars, who started Kinko's, that he sees it as that. In your 30s, you figure out what you're good at. At your 40s, you make money at what you're good at. And by the time you're 50, if you keep this hustle up, you can relax. And then you can measure your success by, do your kids want to hang out with you?
Right. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I mean, that's your heritage. That's what, you're going to be dead and gone. Everybody's going to forget you except your family. And so you're doing it for them. But anyway, that's good. I'll have to look that up. But in closing, guys, I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to speak with y'all. And y'all keep killing it up there in Monroe and as y'all grow all over the state. And if I can ever do anything to help, holler at me.
All right, appreciate it, Max. Good to see you, bud.
All right, guys. Later.
All right. Thank you, Max.
Bye.